Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at my Caldwell ChairPod. I actually got this a couple years back to use with my pop-up blind. And I can tell you right now, this thing here does make shooting out of a pop-up blind a lot easier. Now I know today there's a lot of the tripods that you can actually attach your rifle to, and it's attached to the tripod and you set it up on the tripod, and there's monopods. But this really does give a lot of that kind of functionality, but connected to your chair for your blind. This thing has some really cool features as far as being able to use it for blind hunting and packing in and packing out. It's not quite as bulky as it looks right now, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first of all, let's take a look at its basic setup. So you have the actual pod here that has all the adjustability. So as you saw in some of the shooting videos and stuff like that, I had my 22, my Remington set up in here. And first of all, the first height settings you have is right here on these. You can adjust these up and down for your buttstock and your forend. The next measurement you have is your length. So you can pop this open like this, and with a little bit of finagling, it's tight. I haven't really messed with it. You can actually stretch that out and retract it each way. That gives you your length. Some long guns are shorter than others. Now as far as the access point on here, you can loosen this up right here and move the whole thing back and forth. So if you got it set and you need the rifle a little closer or further away, you can do that. And everything's done with these, either these like quick latches or some type of quick rotation. Now for this pivot axis, you have this big knob here. You loosen that up and that allows your tilt. And you can get it where you want it, then you can tighten it down. And then of course you have your rotation here, side to side, controlled by this screw. I like to leave it a little tight. You want to be able to move it, but it not, easily move. Same thing with the tilt. It's a little tighter than I like, but you want to be able to tilt, but you don't want it to be, super loose. And then you have the whole swivel right here, which is controlled by this one. You loosen it up, tighten it up. Like I said, I like to leave it to where it's movable, but it's not super loose. And the last height measurement you have is down here on this rod. You can lower and raise the whole system, or take this completely off, which is important when it comes to packing this away. And this also means that if you really wanted to, you could mount this inside of your blind stationary if you have a permanent ground or deer blind. So you could do that. So you got a lot of flexibility as far as your movement here. Now another thing that I cannot stress enough is how quiet everything is. Now of course when you're sliding these two joints, these joints here up and down, yeah, you have some friction sounds, because it's rubbing, metal and plastic. But everything else is super quiet. Now I have the shotgun mic aimed right at me right now, and it's hardly audible. I can hear a little bit of sound, but not much. Now, not enough for any animal to be able to hear this moving around. Now you do have another range of movement, and that's with the chair itself. It does have full 360-degree swivel, and it itself is just as quiet as everything else. It's almost silent. So if you had a big enough pop-up blind and you got multiple windows, you could, in theory, switch to a different window if you're having, some shots out that direction. If you're, you got a big enough blind, you got it set up for it. So that's all just the movement stuff. All super high quality made. I want to say man, I don't know what these run right now, but I want to say I spent over $200 when I bought this system a couple years back. They may be higher now, inflation, all that stuff like that. Plus, we're in the hunting season. But it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, so it's, you know, I guess Black Saturday. So online, there's a lot of great deals on these. Now, of course, this video is not going to go up today. It's probably going to be up on Monday or Tuesday. But still, you know, shop around online. You might find some deals. These were a little hard to find when I bought mine, and they were out everywhere else. So it is what it is. Okay, so let's move over to stowing this thing away, because that's also where this thing really has a lot of cool features. So the first thing you do to stow it away, you lift off your pod system like so, and you set this off to the side. Now your seat folds down like so, and yeah, folds down like so, and then your legs fold over. Now the legs are a little tricky. You got to kind of move, you know, both in one direction at the same time. So once you get this one here moved up, it folds and snaps into place. And now here's where the cool part comes in here. Now, I know it don't look like much, but this is actually made to be worn on your back like a backpack. So, like me, my pop-up blind, I would get this on my back and then throw my pop-up blind on top of it, or vice versa. And then you can, you know, carry it on your back. That makes it to where its weight isn't that big of an issue. I think the system weighs around 10 pounds, but it's not that bad. I'm going to raise this up just a hair here. But yeah, so it's not that bad as far as weight goes. Now, you might be wondering where the pod goes in. Well, the pod, if you look, there's these little clips right here and this rubber grommet right here. There was another rubber grommet down here, but it fell off and I don't know what happened to it. But you slide this down in here and move this around like this. Man, it's been a while since I've done this. And ideally, you have it adjusted to where these top racks fit in these little rubber grommets. Right now, I do not. I gotta move it back a little bit. Yeah, it's about right there. Tighten this back down. Now, when I first got the system, like I said, I think it was before I actually built my blind, or might have been right after, because I was still kind of moving around the property. I hadn't really figured out a good spot as of yet. And then you want to just kind of make sure it's slid down in here and held in place. Like I said, that other grommet's supposed to help with keeping it from wiggling around and stuff. But once it's in, the whole system, once again, just goes on your back. And you can pack it in, just like that. Now, first complaint about carrying this thing on my back is this bar from the factory comes with no padding or anything on it. And you actually sit on this bar too. So what I did is I got some of this insulating foam. I got it at Home Depot, and I just put it on here and then zip tied it in. That gives enough cushion to where it's not beating on your back. Now, if you got your pop-up line on the inside, that's not as big of a problem. Now, the other issue that I have with the system is the fact of how light and compact it is. Kind of works against it. So, like I said, let me pop this out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, once you get it popped out, it's not so bad, but... So the issue that I have with the system is when you're sitting in it and you have your rifle in it, it's not a big deal. It's balanced It's light enough to where it can balance on its own with just the pod on it. But the problem is, once you put a rifle in it, it's not balanced anymore. Now you could, if you're not going to be in it, you could bring your rifle over like this, and it will balance like that. But that doesn't help with you being able to keep your rifle aimed in one direction. What I wish they had done with the system is down here on these legs, I wish they would have made wider pads with 2 holes. On these feet, I wish they would have made wider pads, for one, to help you so you don't sink into the ground if the ground's a little soft. But also, put a couple holes on each side inside that pad. That way you can run some stakes into your ChairPod, and keep it sturdy to where you could leave your rifle out extended and not have to worry about it tipping over or messing with your blind or coming in contact with your blind and making noise. So that's something I wish they would have changed. But to be honest, that back pad and that, only 2 problems I have with this system. Everything's nice on it. It's got a nice mesh back on it, and like I said, this right here is really good for staying cool. It's not too warm or anything like that, so it breathes. If you're wearing thin pants, you might get that pattern kind of tattooed on your ass a little bit, but that is what it is. But you're not gonna really overheat with this. Now that does come with a bad thing, so if it's the winter time and it's cold, well, it doesn't really stop wind from passing through this, so you have to, put an insulating layer beneath it. But, if you're out hunting, you're going to be wearing warmer clothes anyways. That's really the only 2 issues I have with the system. It's just that lack of padding on this bar, which could easily be added at the factory or something else. Even a rubber sleeve. It does unbolt, but it's got 2 tabs on it. So, it wouldn't be too hard to take that off and add some type of more permanent rubber sleeve or something over it. All kinds of things, but that foam works just fine. And it's pretty quiet still. It ain't bad. But yeah, so if you do a lot of blind hunting, and you're tired of messing around with carrying around a second chair and carrying around your tripod for your rifle and stuff like that, this is an all-in-one system. Think of it, there is one more thing I wish that it did have. I wish it had some height adjustment for the seat itself. It is kind of low sitting, but I wish there was some way they would have made it to where the legs were also telescoping. And you can maybe, get maybe 4 to 6 inches of height out of it. For me, I'm kind of short, so this is fine for me. But then again, I'd imagine, depending on how your setup is, and if you're a taller guy, you may not want to be sitting here with your knees up in the air, And then also, if you're tall enough, your knees could interfere with the pod because you only have this much travel. Now, I'm sure it wouldn't be super hard to swap this out and make a taller tube or something like that. Maybe weld on another piece of tube down here and, grind it smooth to where you got a shaft where we can raise it up higher. But there's not a whole lot you can do about the legs. So, that'd be maybe something that would be cool if they add another feature in the future. But for now, it's pretty good for what it is. So if you're doing a lot of blind hunting and, maybe look into one of these and see what you think and watch some videos and some reviews and stuff like that. I like it. I don't use it a whole lot. But, it works pretty good for what it is. And I just don't use my pop-up line so much on this property. But anyways, y'all guys have a good one. And if you don't mind, give me a like and subscribe and help me out a little bit. See y'all next time.